The Minnesota Vikings, a team with a legacy both admired and cursed. Known for their grit, for forging one of the most feared defenses in NFL history, the Vikings story is a saga of dominance and disappointment. How could a team that sent shivers down the spine of every opposing quarterback fail when it mattered most? What lies behind the heartbreak that has haunted this franchise for decades? The story begins in 1961, when the Minnesota Vikings were born. But their true rise to power came in the late 1960s, when the Purple People Eaters, one of the most legendary defensive lines ever assembled, became the face of the team. Fans believed their dominance would lead to glory. Instead, the history of the Minnesota Vikings became a tale of near misses and shattered dreams. 4 Super Bowl appearances, and each time, a gut-wrenching defeat. This is the story of a team that gave everything, only to watch it slip through their fingers. But before we dive into the full story, I want to hear from you. Do you think the Vikings are cursed, or is there something more behind their struggles? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe for more in-depth sports histories. From the late 1960s through the 1970s, the Minnesota Vikings built one of the most formidable defensive units in NFL history. The Purple People Eaters, a nickname that still echoes today, was led by 4 legendary linemen: Alan Page, Carl Eller, Jim Marshall, and Gary Larson. These men weren't just great players, they embodied the very heart and soul of the Vikings' defense. Under the leadership of coach Bud Grant, the Purple People Eaters terrorized opposing offenses. Alan Page, an NFL MVP and Hall of Famer, dominated the line of scrimmage with speed and intelligence rarely seen from defensive tackles. Carl Eller, a 6-time Pro Bowler, and Jim Marshall, famous for his durability and leadership, combined to create a wall no team wanted to face. The Vikings reached the playoffs 7 times in the 1970s, primarily on the back of this defense. Their ability to pressure quarterbacks, stop the run, and deliver game-changing plays made them one of the most feared units in football. But as great as they were, their legacy is haunted by what never came: the Super Bowl victories that eluded them. The Vikings' dominance throughout the 1970s took them to the NFL's grandest stage 4 times. In 1969, 1973, 1974, and 1976, Minnesota stood at the doorstep of history, poised to claim the Lombardi Trophy. But in each of these appearances, they fell short, leaving fans devastated and questioning whether their team would ever taste glory. Their first Super Bowl in 1969 saw them facing the AFL's Kansas City Chiefs. Despite being heavy favorites, the Vikings were outplayed in every facet of the game, losing 23-7. The defeat stunned Minnesota and its fans, but it was only the beginning of a trend. The next 3 Super Bowl appearances would result in similar heartbreak. Losses to the Miami Dolphins in 1973, the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1974, and the Oakland Raiders in 1976 cemented the Vikings' unfortunate legacy as one of the best teams never to win it all. Behind the scenes, the pain was even greater. Players who had given everything, like quarterback Fran Tarkenton and coach Bud Grant, were left to reflect on what went wrong. Locker rooms were silent after each defeat, and the weight of these losses carried on into future seasons. For the fans, these moments created a sense of longing, a desire for redemption that has lasted for decades. As the 1980s and 1990s rolled around, the Vikings entered a new era, and with it came new stars. The likes of Chris Carter and Randy Moss electrified fans, giving the team fresh hope. The 1998 season in particular seemed destined for greatness. That year's Vikings squad, led by quarterback Randall Cunningham and the high-flying Moss, set the NFL ablaze, finishing the regular season with a 15-1 record. But just as in the past, heartbreak was lurking around the corner. In the NFC Championship game, the Vikings faced the Atlanta Falcons. Leading late in the game, All they needed was a field goal to clinch the win. But kicker Gary Anderson, who had not missed a single kick all season, missed at the worst possible moment. The Falcons went on to win in overtime, and Minnesota's Super Bowl dreams were shattered once again. This moment became yet another chapter in the Vikings' long history of postseason disappointments. Despite talented rosters and near-perfect seasons, the team could not shake the curse that seemed to hang over them. Today, the Minnesota Vikings remain a team with one of the NFL's most loyal fan bases. Year after year, fans pack the stadium, filled with hope that this will finally be the season where it all comes together. The team has had flashes of brilliance, from the miracle in Minneapolis in 2018 to consistent playoff appearances. But the Super Bowl has remained elusive. Will the Vikings ever capture that elusive championship? Or are they destined to be remembered for their near misses and heartbreaks? For the fans, it's a waiting game, filled with frustration but also pride in a team that never stops fighting. If you're one of those fans, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into another legendary NFL team's journey to greatness and their own battles with fate. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Will the Vikings ever win a Super Bowl, or will their postseason heartbreak continue? Don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more gripping stories from the world of sports.